Good evening. Today is Thursday, May 11th, 2017. The time is 7:06 p.m. This is the monthly meeting of the Beech Grove Redevelopment Commission. I would first ask our members starting to my right to introduce themselves.
Ed Bell.
Kathy Chappell, Secretary.
Ron Moat, Vice President.
Jay Oswalt.
And I'm Donald Webb, the President. I would start off first with our minutes from last month, and I'd ask, Kathy was nice enough to type them up and give us a copy, if there are any additions, corrections, or comments on the minutes. And if not, I would ask for a motion to approve said minutes.
I'll make said motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Minutes approved. Thank you, Kathy. Next, we're going to pay the bills. We have a bunch of stuff for $49,191.09 this month. I will quickly read them. We have 4 from Borgman Enterprises. That was part of our agreement to go in half with the city on maintaining grounds within the city for beautification. And there's 4 invoices, one for $925, $350, $135, and $1,190. Tim Schulwalder, who does our meetings, $225. J.L. Brown Electric, $4,000. Those monies went to replacement of the light fixtures, again, half with the city along Emerson Avenue. That will save the city, actually, those costs we'll pay for those costs with the new improved lighting. So that was a great deal that the mayor got through IPL and them. Then we have Peters Consultants. Jeff's done a bunch of work for us. He basically helped to prepare a report tonight that we have to submit, I think, by the 15th of July that we're going to approve tonight because we don't meet in the month of June, so that was important. And Jeff worked on that and some other things for the RDC as far as getting all our stuff that we needed to have and report. That was $3,406.39. We've got a sewer bill for $15. Roberts Firm, $944.70, and then Crossroads Engineers was the big one at $38,000. That's part of the $95,000 we pledged this year to keep the work on the Greenway going and keeping that moving forward for the city of Beech Grove. So all those together total $49,191.09. I'd ask if there's any comments or questions, and if not, I'd ask for a motion to approve the bills to be paid.
I make a motion.
I'll
Second.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. The bills are approved. Do we want to do next stop first, and then we'll do the resolution and then you, Mr. Mayor? Is that okay?
Sure.
Next stop, Beech Grove has a presentation for us. Okay.
It's just citywide.
Okay, citywide. Okay, I'm sorry. It's citywide. So yes, please. Sorry, Ron.
That's right.
Hi, I'm David Terrell. I'm with Ball State University, the Indiana Communities Institute. And Diana asked me to come here. I think she was asked to make arrangements.
Right, she did.
To make a presentation on an initiative that's sponsored by Oprah. It's actually contractual with Oprah. To give you a little of my background, I'm the director of the Indiana Communities Institute at Ball State. But prior to that, I was the startup. If he could step up to the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even think about that. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
I was the I hope the remote reaches this far.
If not, can you turn one of those mics around?
Yeah, we could probably do that.
Yeah, we could flip one of those mics. Here, I'll do it.
Backwards or
Here, I'll just
around.
turn that like that. Hopefully we'll get feedback off it. Let's go ahead and see if Tim can hear you. Just say something.
Can you hear me?
Okay,
There we go. If that doesn't work, Tim, just let us know,
we'll
please.
work it out. I don't know why this isn't catching up yet.
Hopefully you're not trying to hook up to Beech Grove Digital City.
It is,
While he's setting up, you know when you guys took all of them down,
Yes,
we found another one.
that's not shocking.
So we just, the DPW went ahead and took it down.
When the list was so incomplete, as a matter of fact, we got the list from Meade, and they only had a half of the list left anymore. So they got what they could remember and what they knew, and they drove
And I
around
don't
looking
remember
for
what
them.
was that. They went ahead and took care of it.
That's great. 'Cause I saw where somebody thought we still had internet, and they couldn't understand why they couldn't get on it.
okay, I think we're ready. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
I was the startup director for Okra, and I was the director for Okra for 7 years. And when I was at Okra, we were working with communities all the time who would try to go out and do strategic plans and try to figure out what they wanted to do, and they would bring in consultants and spend a lot of money on consultants. And this consultant spent most of their time spinning their wheels with the community because no one was on the same page. And so when I was recruited to Ball State and started working for the created Communities Institute, Indiana Communities Institute, one of the things that we were working with Okra was to develop an inexpensive approach for communities to really sort out their alignment. And that's what became the Community Readiness Index, which is now an Okra program called the Community Readiness Initiative. And it's really the issue of community readiness for change. And so just real quickly, what I'm going to show is a few slides to show you the research behind this, and then really review of CRI, what it is and what it isn't, and then walk you through the process. And if it's something that you want to do, it's something that is free. It's about a $5,000 cost, but it's free because it's contractual with Okra. You may decide it isn't something you want to do, but I know Okra's going through some transitions right now, but for quite a while, there was kind of a step-by-step process that Okra encouraged communities to go through. For example, Main Street was one of them, and then CRI is another step, and then you kind of work your way up the ladder in terms of investments and programs for community development, and this is one of them. Just a quick background, and Beech Grove is one of the unique communities because you're surrounded by Indianapolis, but you have your own community, and so you have your own economic development drivers. But so many times communities look at their economy or their community economic development only in terms of jobs. And they look at it in a way, if we're not going to be a successful community unless we get jobs here. And we call that the 20th century community economic development. And it's the whole focus, and a lot of communities' focus has been luring jobs and focusing on that. And it assumes people move to jobs, and it's transactional and commodity mindset. But the research shows that's not necessarily the case, and this graph shows, I'm going to only show you three graphs. I've truncated a presentation that takes about an hour to give, and it's really thick with data. I'm only going to show you three sets of data. So you're not going to be here all night. But if you look at our consumption of goods over the years, so take our pie, take your income, the average American's income, almost 70% of their income is now spent on services. And the red line shows just over 20% is spent on non-durable goods. That's clothes, that's food, that's consumables, that's produced. And then the blue line is durable goods. And that's autos, that's refrigerators, appliances, and things like that. So you see 10 to 20% has always been at durable goods, but the non-durable goods has gone down. So if you look at that, if that's where the consumption is, where's the employment going to be? The people who make it, we're going to need fewer people who make the stuff because the spent is, what's spent is less. Then the other variable in that is basically manufacturing has gotten a whole lot labor intensive. So when we're in Indiana, we think manufacturing is going to be a driver of employment. Manufacturing is important to Indiana in terms of GDP and everything else. But if you look at employment, manufacturing, that fewer people are employed in manufacturing as they were in the past. It could be a driver, an important driver of the economy, but it also is not as big a driver of employment. Those are two different things these days. They used to be one and the same. And that's what this shows. It shows investment in equipment. So in the 50s, it's less than $50,000 was spent, per person was spent on equipment, per employee was spent on equipment. Now it's over $200,000. So if you take $1 million of investment, back in the 50s, early 50s, $1 million of investment created 200 jobs. Now that's 5 jobs. That's the difference. So we have to look at things differently. But our attraction policies haven't been as like that. And then if we're looking at attracting companies, and this is kind of a proxy measure, companies aren't looking as much to relocate in greenfield sites. So they're dropping at 7 per year. So basically what this says, if you're looking at business attraction, attracting a company into your community, there are over 3,000 counties and more than that in terms of economic development attraction entities. And in the early teens, there were 100 new locations of plants. So if you're putting all your eggs in a basket of attracting businesses, and this is manufacturing, if you're putting all your eggs in a bag of attracting manufacturing, you can wait about 25 years and get one. And so you really have to look at how you're doing these things. We say there are new paradigms, and one of them is job creation doesn't necessarily, that's the other thing we haven't really talked about, but that was in another slide. Job creation doesn't really lead to population growth. A region may attract, a regional job location may attract people, but people are going to live where they want to live. And again, capital investment does not necessarily lead to job creation. Now, right now, especially a lot of existing companies who come in and ask for tax abatements, long term, they're really labor saving. That's a dilemma. Mayors, I talk to a lot of mayors, and haven't talked to you yet about this, but I know a lot of mayors in a lot of communities. They will get hammered by a company about the condition of the local schools, but then in the same conversation, they'll ask for a tax abatement, and they don't make a connection between the property tax problem and school funding and asking for tax abatement. There's just a disconnect there. And most new jobs are not in footloose industries. Now, this is a new term, but if you go back to this graph, almost all manufacturing is footloose. It can go anywhere. Now, realistically, if a plant lands somewhere, probability if there's like a Honda down in Greensburg, it's just not going to up and move. But it was footloose at one time, and Ball State and Muncie Borg Warner wasn't going to go anywhere either, and it's not there. So, and we all face any manufacturing community, traditional manufacturing community, faces this dilemma because of the footloose nature of manufacturing. And the service jobs, the non-footloose jobs, are mostly the service area jobs. And so that's what we mean by footloose and non-footloose. And different communities have different strengths, and you have to look at the value added. What's the value added you bring to the communities that surround you? What do you bring to greater Indianapolis? And there's a lot there. So the whole idea is luring people. And that's 21st century community economic development. It's luring people. It's talent attraction, retention, and development. And again, it is the value-added mindset. So to get people started in these conversations, we talk about primacy of place, and it's that strategic decision to make those investments in place in the community. And then you have purposeful policies around that. And we say these are the key components of primacy of place. And they're all kind of self-evident, and we're building a lot of research around this, and then from the research, more training around this to work with communities. But the big one that a lot of communities struggle with is that readiness for change. Just a readiness for change. Yes, sir.
I'm kind of curious as to the scope of your analysis here. Are we looking at, let's say, Indianapolis versus hypothetically Columbus, Ohio, or Indiana versus Michigan? Or are we taking a broader scope, let's say, in the context of Rexnord and Carrier, where we can have all these things going for us in Indianapolis and the state of Indiana for that matter, but if they can get labor for $3 an hour and it's costing them $27 here in Indiana, a lot of this stuff probably isn't going to matter a whole hell of a lot.
We're actually doing some studies on that. And our economist, Mike Hicks, at the same time, all that was blowing up. He and Shrikant Devraj published a paper 2 years ago that showed that almost all job losses, 88% of job losses in manufacturing, are due to technology changes. 12% are due to offshoring. It's the offshoring that gets the big political stuff going on, and it will get the headlines. But it's, I don't want to say it's insidious, but if you look over time, most of the job losses have been due to technology changes, technology improvements. Like I said, the tax abatements for labor improvements. And then all of a sudden, gradually, the companies that are making those process improvements need fewer employees. I think if you look at it, I think Carrier, they did lose several jobs in the process. And the reason they lost a lot of the jobs is because of the technology. I mean, Carrier stayed, but they lost the jobs because of the technology. But Rexnord is that 12%. I mean, we're not going to say it doesn't happen, but the bigger issue is the technology changes. And what's happened is nationally, the policy, statewide, these are state policies and local policies. We've encouraged investments. We've encouraged investments in technology, but we haven't kept the training of the workforce up enough.
Well, we also have a tax code that favors offshore production because they receive much more favorable tax treatment in Scotland and Ireland than they do domestically here in the United States.
I'm not going to say that doesn't come into play, but we also see that by and large, most of the job losses that have occurred have been due to technology changes. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Well, but they say here there's a lot of jobs available, but people aren't trained. How can a $3 an hour person in Mexico be trained to do these jobs? Or those jobs can't move down there?
I'm sorry, it's the knowledge base that's here. I mean, again, offshoring does happen.
Right.
And we're actually coming out with a study this summer that's a national study that maps by county employment jobs that are vulnerable to offshoring or jobs that are vulnerable to technology changes. And we can map it by county. And offshoring can happen. But in a lot of cases, the offshoring that can happen, it's always going to happen at some level. But the bigger issue is the technology changes, and we need to get our workforce caught up. I mean, there are a lot of issues with that, but we need to get our workforce caught up with the training and the education. Yes, sir.
My question is a little different in that you mentioned tax abatements, and because we are an RDC, and when I look around, I see government RDCs that enter into a lot of bad deals. For example, Greenwood spent $6.5 million trying to lure a plant to make generic insulin. That plant never even opened, it never hired anybody, it went bankrupt. The city of Greenwood was left with $6.5 million in debt. And I was wondering, have there been studies to study the rate of return on RDCs and tax abatements? Because I think the gentleman you mentioned, I swear, was he one that did a report on that RDCs are not favorable and that they do not get a good return? Am I wrong? I mean, I thought I read that. I don't know if that.
Someone didn't read it all, yes. He actually, Mike Hicks, Dr.
Yeah,
Hicks,
I think
yes.
he's the one I think.
He actually said there are good TIF projects and bad TIF projects. And there's some that are in the middle. And you can go case by case, and, we could spend all night talking about that.
Right.
And some have been disastrous, but some have been very good. And it's basically a local policy decision on how to do it. If a community, and it depends on where a community is. If a community is really struggling, and it could be a rural community, if it's really struggling, they might see the value of using TIF.
Well, I guess what I get at is, it seems to me like, in the Greenwood example specifically, they were throwing money after the promise of high-paying jobs. And again, I wonder if that's necessarily the job of an RDC or a government to go after those, because a lot of times those can be pie in the sky. It's just like, you mentioned carrier. For, what it's costing us for each carrier job, I'm not sure that I would call that a good return on investment.
Again, that's a
And
local,
again,
yeah.
you can argue that, but I guess
That's
what I'm
a-
looking at for us is.
Right.
We're a small city, we have a small redevelopment budget, and I wouldn't necessarily want to take 30% of our budget and go after a company who's promises, say, $10,000, $50,000 a year jobs, because as you point out, the manufacturing jobs, which to me are the gold standard that everybody covers, those aren't what we should be attracting by your thing. We should be attracting service-type job companies or those types of things, and having the amenities in the community that would attract those and the people that.
Or attracting the people.
Right.
And another slide that I don't have,
So that's different
Right.
thinking, though, than.
That's
most
different thinking.
Than many governments. do,
than many
because
governments are thinking.
Governments go
yes.
after the big companies and the big jobs, and they forget the little jobs where
Right.
they can have more success.
Right, and there's a lot of reasons for that. One is there's a ton of pressure, and I'm not going to pick on the mayor, but I'm going to raise up the mayor a little bit. When any elected official campaigns to run for office, the thing they hear the most from the electorate is, we need jobs. And that may or may not be the case, but that's all you hear. And too many times unfairly. The one thing elected officials really can't control is the economy. And the economy controls jobs. And, but, I've said this to a bunch of mayors. What mayor is who wants to be on watch if they lose a plant with 300 jobs? Who wants to be on watch? By the same token, who would love to hit a home run and attract a plant with 300 jobs? And there's going to be a lot of pressure to get that, especially if the community knows that they're in competition with another community and they didn't give enough incentives. But you are right that we have observed, more in the rural parts of the state, we have observed communities win the attraction game, and they've given tax abatement, they've given TIF, but, so you have deferred revenues in terms of property tax revenues, and more than half their workers live outside that county. So they're the host community, but the county surrounding actually win more. Because, especially because of property tax caps, the revenues from income tax are becoming more important. And I think the local government sees that. The property, income tax revenue is a greater proportion of total revenue for a community. So there are a lot of pieces here, and you're asking really good questions. These are really complex questions. So I forgot where I was. But it's really about readiness for change. These are good questions, and there's no easy answer, and there's no black and white answer. But I have presented to you what data does show. So in terms of community readiness for change, we developed an alignment assessment, and we call it CRI. And it basically will tell you what CRI is. It's intended for the elected officials and appointees. It's a very short questionnaire, and it's really for a small audience. I would say for the city of Beech Grove, 30 to 40. That's about it. And then it basically is an assessment of an alignment of community economic development priorities, and it's not an opinion poll. We want to find out what people know. It's essentially, what do you know? And it's an internal feedback mechanism. Like, one of the questions we have is, are you aware of plans, of any plans for economic development in your community? And these are people who are supposed to know about it. And we've had communities who've taken this questionnaire, and less than half the people knew of plans, but there were plans. And so that's a feedback mechanism to the leadership that, well, we need to get our leaders more engaged about what's going on in our community. It's those kinds of questions. And it is not a planning process, and it's not a community-wide survey, and it is not an opinion survey. It really isn't any of those things. And it's really not the end of the process, it's the beginning of the process. Basically, these are the steps here. And if we want to go through that, do you have the...
Yes, she handed us up.
And again, you may decide that you all are, and the leadership, that basically the survey itself starts on page 12. And it's an online survey. It's an online survey. And the fundamental question is on page 14, it's question 11. And I have a few more slides, but question 11 is, we break the economy down. Again, this is the economists who've done this. We say a community has 5 areas of economic activity that can drive for the community, and it's production, pretty much manufacturing, residential development and growth, recreation, retail, and logistics. Those are the 5 areas. So the reason I pointed to that question, I'll show you an example. This is the end product example, which is pretty much kind of an analysis, the first analysis. So we have the city and the county. And this is an actual community that we did. 35 responded. And so of the people who responded, this is one where the response, 48 were aware of a plan in the city or town. This is a more rural county, so this still asked about a county plan. And then we talk about internal alignment. So we took the responses of this question, question number 11. And this is an index response. So the lower the number, the more agreement there is among responses. So, but what this means is the lower the number, there's more agreement. So everyone agreed pretty much recreation was that rank. It didn't, they may have agreed it was number 5. Didn't mean it was number 1. They may have agreed it was number 5. So they were all on the same page on where each of these rankings were. So we have figured out if it's a 2 or above, there's more disagreement, and below a 2, there's more alignment on where each of those rank. So this shows there was pretty good alignment within this community on where everything ranked. There was more disagreement on retail, but it showed there's internal alignment. So that's one of the things you want to find out. Is everyone internally on the same page? Now, it could be everyone's on the same page, but our data shows that it's different from where they are on the same page. So that's the next analysis. We do our own analysis, and the blue bar is our analysis, and the yellow bar is where the community ranked them. So in this particular community, they ranked, and the lower the number, most promising is the lower the number. They ranked recreation number 1. Our analysis showed that residential was number 1, was the highest potential, was the highest economic driver, because it could drive so many other things. And then the interesting thing here was they thought retail was number 2, but we showed retail as the least promising. And so what that caused them to do, that caused them to have a conversation in a different way. And we were able to talk through with the leadership there why this was the case. And so, and they didn't think residential was as promising as we saw that residential was promising. And that caused them to rethink how they wanted to plan and maybe rethink how they did different investments and even different types of activities. What this really is intended to do is to be a conversation starter. That's really all it is. We're not promising anything more than to start a conversation to get everyone on the same page. Another way of saying it is we're making you better consumers of consultants.
David?
Yes.
I have a question for you. Is the actual PWR ranking, is that just for that community? Or was that
That's for that community.
where-
We do an analysis for that community. And we take a lot of secondary data from Bureau of Census and Bureau of Labor Statistics and all kinds of different sources. And then one of the things we do, kind of as an add-on, is we talk about the occupations. Basically, this is from American Community Survey, what they do, and compare it to the state average, and then we talk about where they do it. And so if you look at, in this community, the county average, it's still below the state average, but their highest occupation cluster is in management, business, and so on. And they have a lot of work in educational services and healthcare. Several communities, and then manufacturing is number 2. Several communities have that top line, management, business, science, and arts occupation, and where they work is manufacturing. So that means they're in a community that's gone through the technological changes because there's the higher level of profession in there. It's not quite, but there's a little bit of correlation there. And then one last piece of emphasis is that we talk about exportable and non-exportable goods or services. So this is kind of a corollary to footloose and non-footloose. So the blue line are goods or services that are exportable. That's basically manufacturing. And that's the proportion of people employed in those sectors. And this is exportable. Non-exportable is the green line. So we give that analysis. And the questionnaire itself, I've shown you, and we asked just basically, then if you choose, we can give a bigger presentation with more in-depth analysis. But we give the presentation to the leadership group first, and then we give the bigger presentation. This is an online survey, and back to this handout, the people we suggest to take the survey, on page 10, the top right-hand corner, there's a screenshot. It's kind of small, but those are the positions that we suggest. Take it. In this situation, I don't know that you would need to pull, you might want to pull in, I don't know if you would want to pull in anyone from the county or not, but your community, other than the county commissioner or county council, I think these would be the ones. Again, not a lot of people. And it's administered locally, and we can help with that. What we suggest, what we mean administered locally, there's a point person locally who really drives it. And they can actually get online, and this handout shows how to do it. They get online, we see who it is, we give them a password, and it would be a Beech Grove website. And they administer the whole thing from that website. The key thing is they gather the emails of the people, so that person would work with you and the mayor to gather all the emails and the positions. They would upload it into the system, and then the first thing they would do is send an email either from you or the mayor, and that email is on page 8. A template is on page 8. That's giving everyone a heads up that you're going to get something from Ball State. Don't ignore it. And please go to the link and take the questionnaire. That's essentially it. And then on page 11, once they hit send, we suggest about 2 days later on page 11, they hit send, and the people who have been selected to take the questionnaire get this email with the link. It's a Beech Grove link to take the survey, to take the questionnaire, and that's it.
So basically, these questions are loaded into SurveyMonkey. We send them
Yes.
to the people that we think should know what's going on in Beech Grove, solicit their opinions and what their thoughts are,
Right,
and then we gather them back,
right.
and then we give you that data.
We gather all that data.
Okay, you gather all that.
We gather all that
And then
data.
basically, you'd come and say, this is where you guys think you are, this is where you really are.
Yes, you may be in alignment. First of all, we talk about internal alignment, then we talk about external alignment.
I mean, I've mentioned it a couple times that our city's master plan, I think it hasn't been touched in, what, 10 years maybe?
At
I'm
least.
thinking 08 or 9.
'08. So that was the last time anything was done with it. Now,
Lots changed.
a lot, well, yeah, I mean, the world, I think about where the world is in the last 10 years, you know. I think there's value in this. And the one thing, again, because it goes back to what you pointed out there is, I think the way we look at job creation and what jobs we want is, especially in government, is unrealistic. I think the mayor's got the right idea in building the road infrastructure and making the community more attractive to attract the people and then bring the jobs in that way. Because that's, to me, almost what you're saying is that the days of going and getting a General Motors to build a factory here, those are, those have gone away with the horse and buggy. Instead, you build an arts community to get, or you build a community that'll attract different service jobs that preferably pay better.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the home of Burger King, but
When I ran for mayor and when I ran re-election for mayor, I don't think I ever used a platform.
right.
And to think about it, 3 of the largest businesses that have came to Beach Grove or expanded in Beach Grove since I've been mayor were ADM Milling, and that was a $30 million mill. Kinetrics, which was a $25 million investment, and Community Physicians Network. And I bet you total of those 3, maybe 30 jobs at the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what,
Every city in town beats each other up trying to get jobs, and they're spinning their wheels. It's not there.
yeah, I was amazed at ADM. The millions they spent, and it only added like 3 jobs.
10 jobs.
Well,
Yeah.
At the first, then up
Totally
to that
automated.
point, yeah.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Well, what went wrong with the retail? H.H. Gregg, Marsh Groceries,
Yeah.
Macy's now, Penny's, Kmart's.
It's called Amazon.
Sears.
The Amazon,
You just need to go out and drive along I-70 out west or I-65 north. It is nothing but huge concrete structures of warehouses.
yeah.
And
Well, to me, it's pretty simple. It's the assessed value of your city. How can you drive it up to lower the cost for people to live here? That's that and infrastructure. You've heard me say it 1,000 times, the safety of the general public and infrastructure. Because if our infrastructure is right, then we'll do other stuff. 6 years ago, you couldn't sell a house in the city if you wanted to.
right.
Now, they sell the same day they're listed.
You can put businesses on Main Street from the flooding for businesses as well, and now look at it, starting to pull in businesses.
So, it's just, that's what you gotta do. I mean, and keep them here once they're here.
So I guess my question, first, I want to thank you for coming here tonight.
No problem.
Again, you've shed a lot of light and a lot of intelligence on an area that most of us were dark in. But my question is, how do we go about this? Keep in mind, we all work jobs. I got here late because my job requires it anymore. So how do we go about this? Because again, we're a small city. We don't
Yes.
have we don't have an economic coordinator, this coordinator, that coordinator. I mean, we're a shoestring city. I mean, 5 years I've been on this. This has been 6 volunteer.
Yeah, we need a point person, and we'll work with the point person to do it. And I apologize, I keep looking at the mayor, but,
Well, that's the obvious point person at
Yeah.
this point, because I know where he is most days.
yeah, but it's usually the mayor that doesn't do it. If it's an assistant that does it, and I don't know your staff structure.
We'll figure something out.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what you think, Mr. Mayor. I think this is value added. I think,
Well, I need to know, how relevant is it when we go for funding from Oprah?
That's the point. I really can't tell you now because they are in transition. I really just don't know. And I'm just being honest. I know there's a continued commitment to it, to CRI from the Lieutenant Governor's office, and that will continue. And it will be part of the menu of services I know they want us to deliver. And the other part of it is it's still gonna be paid for. So it doesn't hurt to have it. The Stellar communities, the last two that got it went through CRI as well. So to me, it's good to help you have a conversation that you might need to have, to get everyone on the same page. And again, it's a small group of people. It's people who are appointed to positions that should know about this, your Board of Works. Again, it's a small group. I can't tell you if Oprah's going to require it or not. But I know it looks good to have gone through it. Essentially, I can't speak for Okra.
No, I don't know, I'm just gonna watch it, I would take it under advisement. And you'll meet again in July?
Any other thoughts? I don't want to monopolize. I want to make sure.
No, I
everybody-
think that's the best course of action, what Dennis just said.
I don't disagree with that. But I would want to think between now and July, we kind of work on if this is something we want to do, or think about at least, under,
Listen, I gotta tell you, I am under the gun on 3 or 4 really hot button topics. One of them being sewer rates, another one being ADA compliance, through NDOT, and there's 2 or 3 other things that I'm dealing with that is consuming my time. Bob is doing the ADA. It's the next level for NDOT funding.
Combined with Title VI, which is national origin, race, color. The federal government forces NDOT to have these things in place, and NDOT in turn imposes them on its, what they call subrecipients, where each road is a subrecipient.
right. Well, I think we can sure take it under advisement, but I definitely think within the next 6 to 12 months, though, it's something we should definitely look at, because I do think we need.
I don't think it will hurt you.
I don't either.
I was gonna say, what would be the downside?
Right.
I mean, if there's no downside,
I mean, we're starting an economic development
Right.
corporation.
Yeah.
And again, some of the beliefs that we had, if you think about it, back in 2003 or 4, that hospital was never going anywhere. That hospital offered good paying jobs. It was an attraction to Beech Grove, and now look at it, it's going through the wrecking ball. What our assumptions were 10 years ago even are not the same now. And, at the May, 2027 meeting of the RDC, this city may look totally different. It may have it may be all arts downtown, and we become the cultural mecca of the south side, the new Fountain Square. Or it could be blighted and run down because there was no plan there, and that development went out into Franklin Township in Wanamaker or something. And I just, I think, if nothing else, I still think we need to, work towards this. Maybe we're not the ones to do it, but I don't know. That's what I'm saying is, I'm not sure how to approach this, because again, we've all got a lot of pulling on our time, just like the mayor does, so.
but it doesn't appear that it takes that long to do,
The Survey Monkey, I think anybody could do,
right?
but it's who's gonna step up and start
I'll
leading.
tell you, the pinch point is the gathering the emails and uploading the emails. That's the experience communities have. And the other pinch point we have is once it's sent out, we do ask the communities to monitor it, but it's usually staffs of mayors who are really, really busy, and we need to remind them to do it. We're reevaluating that. I think that we'll do that. Then it's just getting your folks to take the surveys. That's really the problem, is getting your folks to take the surveys.
Well, let's say that we did do that, then what's the benefit after it's all over with? That some of the communities that have done this What's happened after they've done that?
What's happened after that, the community I showed as an example, it got them thinking differently about how they want to approach things. It just, and another community, the leadership knew the direction they wanted to go, but they had pushback from other sectors. And we were able to really reinforce through our research and our results, we were really able to reinforce what the leadership wanted to do. And we were able to give a bigger presentation showing here are the results and here's why. It's a conversation starter. It's not a planning process, but if you're contemplating revamping the plan or updating the plan, this is a good touch base to make sure you're on the same page. You're shortcutting spinning a lot of wheels.
Do you follow up with those communities to see if they've stayed on the same wavelength and for any length of time, or?
We've been doing this about a year, and we're in constant contact with them because that's the nature of the work that we do. Yeah.
Do you find that it keeps them focused?
They're staying focused on it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But this isn't a program. This is
Right.
this is a snapshot. That's all it is. I don't want to oversell this.
Right.
But it is a snapshot. Absent that, we are the Indiana Communities Institute. If you have questions or things that you want to pick our brains, we're happy to come talk with you. Absent this. So, we're not shutting the door if you don't do this. Anyway. Does that answer your question? Yeah. The ones that have used it really to, again, they reevaluate and have gone a different direction, or to reinforce what they have, and they've used it to get the pushbackers
Right.
to go the direction they felt they should have gone.
Any other questions or thoughts?
Oh, I think it sounds pretty interesting.
I think it's something we're definitely interested in.
Okay, well, you got my card.
Well, thank you very much for doing this. I mean, I really appreciate it. I know you volunteered your time to do this, and, I don't think people understand that's taking time away from your family and your life. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I really can't tell you, we really appreciate the presentation.
No problem.
Thank you.
A lot of good learning.
I enjoy this work.
Robert, you are next. I see one resolution, and we voted to approve this, right? The $2,225, our half of that. Didn't we vote to approve that at the last meeting?
We did.
The only, that resolution came, the council passed that at their last meeting.
Right.
The Okra grant writer asked that the parties pass identical same resolution.
Okay, so do we need to do that then?
Yes.
Okay,
There's two, they're identical,
Right.
one's for you and one's for Okra.
okay.
You'll see that it's a common council resolution.
Right, I've got the common count. Does everybody have that? Not
No.
I do. Okay, I'll pass it down if you want to look at it the first.
I have additional copies of it.
Okay,
But the only signature required is Don and Kathy.
right. And just so everybody knows, this is basically, last month the mayor came to us and asked if we would help on this, and we said yes, and we voted to approve it, so I'll sign it, and I'll hand one that way and one that way, and then we'll work them back, and Kathy will sign it, and if anybody has any questions, please feel free. I'll let you look at that, and then I'll send this and send it Kathy's way. That way you can read it, and
There's additional copies of it. Who doesn't have one?
I don't think Robert.
here's yours to sign, Kathy.
You have one.
No, I don't.
That might be all I've got. I thought I had more than that.
And then while we're waiting, the next one I'm going to talk about is on July 15th, every year we have to send notice basically to say that we need all the TIF revenue we can get, or we are entitled to, because we either have projects, outstanding debt, or stuff that we need to to fund that with. And this is an RDC resolution, and Jeff Peters, who, again, that was who our bill was for, he basically went through and approved it, and like, on this, and there's one that we had to, I think for March as well, where we had to list the officers from 2016,
Right.
and who was on the RDC and who's on the RDC this year, and all that, that has to be submitted. I think there's 3, isn't that right? There's like 3 reports every year that the RDC has to submit to different agencies. I know there's at least
There's
2.
a TIF management report that he submitted, I think, in April.
Right, and that explains, and then this one that comes up in July, and then I remember what it was. The RDC has to go before the city council in the fall and give a report on what the RDC has spent, what the RDC has done, and stuff like that. So every fall, we have to give a report on the state of the RDC within Beech Grove and I think that's the 3rd thing required by law that's listed. So, I can read this whole thing, but it's 2 pages, and I don't know if everybody will be awake, but this is nothing more than our resolution saying that we do not have monies to give back, that we need all the TIF revenues we take. So at this point, unless you want me to read the whole thing, I would ask for a motion to approve this. Do we give a number to it, Robert?
I would cite the resolution number.
Well, there's no resolution number at the top, and I don't.
9.
No.
Is it 9?
9.
Okay, so I would ask for approval
Hey,
of.
wait a minute, Don, can I see that for just a second?
Yes, sir, you most certainly may. I think we all have.
The first paragraph there,
Yes,
you can ask for a motion to waive the rules and
Yeah.
read by title only,
okay.
and then every member would have to agree to it. And then if every member agrees to it, all you have to do is read it by the first paragraph.
That would be great. Okay, so I would ask for a motion to read this resolution by title only then.
I'll make the resolution.
Somebody needs to second it,
I'll second.
and then vote individually.
Title only.
Title only.
Title only.
And I'd say title only. So, okay, resolution number 9, 2017. Resolution of the City of Beech Grove Redevelopment Commission regarding the determination of the amount of sentimental assessed value in one or more allocation areas needed to pay obligations of the commission and for the other purposes to be undertaken by the commission. I would ask for a motion to approve this resolution.
I'll make said motion.
A second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, this passed on 11 May 2017, and I'd ask for each member to sign it since we're all here. I will give you this, Jay.
And Bob, I think the word you were having trouble with, the computer made a space that wasn't supposed to be there.
Okay.
It's supposed to be incremental.
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 I was trying to figure, I hate to say this because you don't want to sound dumb on TV, but I was trying to figure out what that word was, and I decided to play it off and just act like I knew. So I still ended up looking like a fool on TV.
So when you said that, I looked at the title.
Can you sign that one too? I want 2 of them. I'll give 1 to.
I wondered about that. I thought, well, maybe it's a
You
word
sign-
I don't
you
know.
sign, I'll sign it.
PDF to a Word.
I was gonna look it up.
and the computer did it.
Thank you again, sir. But yeah, I
Thank
mean,
you, Mr.
you
Terrell.
don't want to look foolish, but,
But we do.
I can pull it over.
You could hold up the paper so Tim can take a picture.
I
So
hope not. All 3 people out there watching, you got me. Well, I guess that leaves the most important speaker for last,
Want to do that in the resolution?
which I only saw 2.
The other resolution is the resolution
Oh,
that Common
I'm sorry.
Council passed, and the grant authority would like this body to approve that same resolution. In other words, you're approving that resolution even though it's a resolution in the Common Council. And then it'll take a motion, a second, a vote. And that one is,
have it?
that one is pretty short.
It's up there.
Right here.
It's up there.
That one is not near as lengthy or legalese jargon as,
Right.
Just rubber stamping.
But we've already done this, right? Didn't we already do that?
Hold on to all of this, 'cause this is information. So I haven't, do you have it? I don't have a copy of that one. I don't know if I
Dennis
missed it.
left one or two, and I left two up there.
I know, I've got, here's the payment, and then here's and then here are the two for this one, okay.
I know I give one to
Yeah, didn't,
Yeah.
yeah, we already signed it, yeah, we took care of that one.
I just
Okay.
passed it down.
All right.
Yeah, I thought we did.
He's got it.
But you need
No,
to,
we already
you need to
signed this
vote
one.
on it.
But you have to vote
I
on it.
thought we did vote on it.
No, just voted on,
We voted on it last month.
you vote.
Oh, but we gotta vote to approve the, oh, wait, okay, I get what you're saying.
You voted on approving to pay half. but
Right.
not on-
So do I need to make a motion to read this by title
Yeah.
only?
Yeah.
Okay. Confusion, but we got it worked out. I'd like to make a motion to read this resolution by title only.
I'll make said motion.
Second.
Second?
Ed,
Title only.
Kathy,
Title only.
Ron,
Title only.
Jake?
Title only?
Okay, and I agree. Resolution authorizing local application submission and local match commitment. Resolution of the City Council of Beech Grove, Indiana, authorizing the submittal of the CDBG planning grant application to the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs and addressing related matters. Again, to explain, we voted on this, but now we're approving this resolution. The mayor last month had asked us to cover half of it. This is a grant, again, to help economic development in Beech Grove, and the council voted unanimously last month to approve it, and we have now just voted unanimously again to approve this resolution. Kathy has signed it as secretary per the document, and I signed it as president, so that resolution is approved as well. And again, that the RDC's part is $2,225 of that grant. I think we've got everything now, so we can have the most important speaker.
Title only.
I just want to update you on several things that are going on.
Need the motion.
You all see the landscaping on, at the roundabout and Main Street and Emerson Avenue. It looks really good. He does a nice job. The Pocket Park, all of those are going well. The lighting on Emerson is done. And I really haven't seen it, but they tell me it's better. And I agree with the president, we're going to save a lot of money on it. The council received your budget from, was it for last year or for this year? Last year.
Yeah, I submitted it last year.
Yeah, and they had no questions with it, so that was handled the last meeting. We are still doing some engineering work on the sidewalks for, applying for sidewalk money on Thompson. That's still going on, and that will be late this fall. No news on the medical center across the street from the hospital. We're getting phone calls from architects on the Main Street Revitalization Program. And I think a decision will be made by June the 5th on who they're going to choose to be their architect. So all of that's going on. The timeline is going just like it should. So that's going on. The Churchman Avenue sidewalk program, which you guys were involved with, and there's kudos to you. That has started. They're doing some drainage work now. They're not going to get into, they wanted to start May the 10th, yesterday, but they decided to wait until school let out. And then, so around the 1st of June is when they'll be really going head over heels, and it'll be really congested through there. But the end product will be really good, and it'll be much safer for everyone. It's already been paid for. The cities has met their obligation, and now it's up to NDOT. We added sidewalks on the north side of Churchman, from Emerson to the fire department parking lot, including in front of Beech Grove Station, which we told them we would do once they got done. That's to allow people to get on the sidewalk to go down to the bus stop. It's very nice. You folks, again, I can't tell you enough the kudos I give to you on Beech Grove Station. It's full, and they have about 150 people on their waiting list. So, excellent. They called me last week, NRP group, they would like to do another project. They're just trying to figure out where in Beech Grove. Maybe in a RDC controlled area, may not be, don't know. We've given them a couple of locations, so I'm waiting to hear back from them. But I would certainly be receptive to it after what I've witnessed.
They were a very good group. They did what they said. They put up with a lot of difficulty at certain times from certain people. And I can't tell you, after doing the tour and doing the walkthrough, those are nice, dignified apartments for seniors. And again, it took an area of the city that's been blighted, run with weeds, and they've made it really a gem of the city. And again, it's, you know, I know we helped on it, but again, Mr. Mayor, you also led on that. And it's been a nice attraction to the city. Again, it gets back to adding value to the city, which I think is important.
The roundabout, they're going through the environmental phase. They just completed environmental phase. Now we're into the utility phase and the purchasing of easements. That project, I think, it was a 2020 project. I think that's going to be bumped up 1 year to 2019. But that, we're really looking forward to that. And on Churchman, the sidewalks, they stopped the sidewalks just a little short of the intersection to accommodate this project and not waste money by putting sidewalks in and having to tear them out. So that's going on. The Greenway, I met with Trent the other day, and I think he's going to come to you this summer, give you an update on where we're at. And but that's going well. We're in the works of applying for Phase 2, which will be this fall as well, and which takes off from the Taco Bell towards the high school, winds around through there, comes out on Churchman Avenue. And the MPO funded Phase 1, and then the MPO funded the sidewalks on Churchman. So if we connect Phase 1, or if we apply for money from the MPO to connect Phase 1 to go around to the sidewalks, that may be more favorable to us.
Right. Because
they've already done all this. So that's the angle that we've worked. Last year, in February of last year, I introduced an ordinance to the council concerning food trucks. And they kind of really questioned my sanity. But now we're getting applications for companies and individuals who want to bring their food trucks to Main Street. So that, I'm glad the council did it. We have a really good law concerning monitoring food trucks, and we hear our first one at the Board of Works meeting on Monday. So I'm very happy about that. It's puts the city in a little different light, good, and could draw more people. So I'm really happy about that. Paving, we have a major paving project going on through parts of Beech Grove, especially over here on North 7th and North 9th. It's really a pain right now, but it's going to be really good when it's done. Town hall meeting is June 6th at 7 PM at Hornet Park. And we're going to update everybody on St. Francis, sewer rates, infrastructure improvements, and a couple other things. And the reason for so many town halls is I told the folks when they started in on the hospital that I would update them every 3 months with a town hall meeting until that project's done. So, and then we also send letters out to the people that live right around the hospital who are affected the most. And the last thing I wanted to talk to you about is the hospital. I know Ed will be there, but someone else is welcome to attend. We have another meeting with all of the construction people on May the 25th at 9 o'clock right here. And that should be the final meeting before you'll see them outside starting to knock it down. So they've done really well. I've been over there on more than one occasion where I ran into the health department or air quality management, taking readings and monitoring them on all their abatement and everything that they're doing, and I haven't received a bad report yet from them. That outfit, Brandenburg, has done exactly what they said they would do. But here pretty soon it's really going to get messy because they'll be knocking it down. So that's basically all I've got. I'd be anxious when it's down. Any questions? What time is the meeting on the 25th? 9 a.m., right here.
9 a.m.?
Are the town halls pretty well attended, or?
They have been. Yeah, I was happy about that. They have been, especially the people that live around the hospital, even though I send them letters, let them know what's going on.
Well, it's pretty impressive how far they've gotten. You can tell. I drive by there every night, and I could see that thing being down before the end of summer almost as fast as it seems they're.
They are really moving. A lot of people, there's over 50 people that work inside that building every day.
There was actually pictures in this morning's Star showing an excavator poking through the wall.
But the other parts of the hospital that are staying property, they're doing very well. And not sure how many people they brought, how many jobs they brought back, but they're telling me around 400. So I don't know. But no, it's been a good ordeal, and I'll be glad when it's down and we can move on to something different. So any questions?
No, sir.
Very busy.
I understand.
Very busy. All right, have a good evening.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Mayor.
you, Mr. Mayor. You too.
Just a couple things. Last month, we were presented with a unique opportunity to buy a piece of land on 18th and Main. I know Kathy went by it, and I myself have gone by it. I don't know if anybody else has any comments or thoughts on that.
Well,
Pass on. I didn't see a real estate sign there today.
they took it down.
Well, it may be gone.
But, I mean, I talked to you about it, and
I personally don't want it.
I see no value in it
there's no,
whatsoever. I
absolutely
wouldn't,
no value for us, I know.
White elephant.
yeah, I don't think it's worth 8,000 because you can't build a house on it. You can't do anything with it. You can't put a business there. I just don't. I mean, the only value I would see is that the homeowner that lived next door to it would buy it for 8,000, so he'd have a bigger yard to mow. I mean, so we all agree with that then?
Yes.
So we're not gonna move forward or even worry about that anymore. The other thing I was gonna mention is, Trent sent me an email. He wants to come present to us, but I was gonna ask him, and give him, since we got some time, maybe in that August meeting, because if you remember, it was 2 years ago in August when we had the presentation and we basically sent out like a community notice on it. I was gonna ask him if he just wants to present to us, or is it time to do another community meeting? Because we talked about that in that August meeting, that every so often we'd update the community on where the greenway is. So I will get with him and find out, and I'll report back in the July meeting. Reminder, we do not have a meeting in June, we are on vacation.
Good.
So those are the only things I could think of. Does anybody have anything else? If not, thank you all again for volunteering your time and coming tonight and the work you do. I will now ask for a motion to adjourn.
Accept motion.
Second,
Second.
meeting is adjourned at 8:22. Thank you, have a blessed evening.